I implore you to please watch this video to the end. The really interesting stuff is really at the end. I know people get bored. I know I'm a nerd and I love to watch C-SPAN and congressional hearings and stuff, but I know people get bored with that. So I used some of these clips before in a video I made about Mark Zuckerberg and his Facebook hearings before the congressional committee, but it didn't get nearly the views that a lot of my videos get. And I just think this information is so, so important. So I thought part of it's because everybody's seen so much of the Zuckerberg hearings and they don't want to, it's kind of boring to sit and watch the hearings. And part of it was because it was so long. So I cut out like all the QAnon stuff. I cut the clips from the hearings back to 2 or 3 minutes. And I just implore you to please watch to the end and please share this video because it is so, so important. But even though I've edited it down almost as small as I can make it, it's still going to be over 20 minutes. So I just ask you, there's cell phone footage at the end that is super intriguing. There are DHS documents. There's so much that I really hope you'll watch and you'll share this to help wake people up. Because we have to realize that these Facebook and these Mark Zuckerberg congressional committee hearings are about so much more than just censorship or anything like that, data collection. When you take it out of context, everybody's just like, oh yeah, Facebook, we're sick of Facebook, they're doing this and that. But when you put all the puzzle pieces in the same place, you can see that this is so much bigger. But when you realize this is just one arm of this octopus, the social media networks, the alphabet agencies, the alphabet companies, and all of that are building a permanent record on all of us. The legislative branch and like the Department of Homeland Security are drafting legislation and memos redefining what hate speech is and what terrorism is, and they are distributing them all the way down to local police departments to enforce their ideology. So this is way bigger than social media. These congressional hearings are about a lot more than just privacy issues or anything like that. The citizens, if this continues, the citizens of this nation are in big trouble, folks.
Well, Mr. Zuckerberg, I will say there are a great many Americans who I think are deeply concerned that Facebook and other tech companies are engaged in a pervasive pattern of bias and political censorship. There have been numerous instances with Facebook. In May of 2016, Gizmodo reported that Facebook had purposely and routinely suppressed conservative stories from trending news, including stories about CPAC, including stories about Mitt Romney, including stories about the Lois Lerner IRS scandal, including stories about Glenn Beck. In addition to that, Facebook has initially shut down the Chick-fil-A Appreciation Day page, has blocked a post of a Fox News reporter, has blocked over 24 Catholic pages, and most recently blocked Trump supporters Diamond and Silk's page with 1.2 million Facebook followers after determining their content and brand were, quote, unsafe to the community. To a great many Americans, that appears to be a pervasive pattern of political bias. Do you agree with that assessment?
Senator, let me say a few things about this. First, I understand where that concern is coming from because Facebook and the tech industry are located in Silicon Valley, which is an extremely left-leaning place. And this is actually a concern that I have and that I try to root out at the company, is making sure that we don't have any bias in the work that we do. And I think it is a fair concern that that people would at least wonder about.
Let me ask this question. Are you aware of any ad or page that has been taken down from Planned Parenthood?
Senator, I'm not, but let me just...
How about MoveOn.org?
Sorry?
How about MoveOn.org?
I'm not specifically aware of those.
How about any Democratic candidate for office?
I'm not specifically aware. I mean, I'm not sure.
In your testimony, you say that you have 15 to 20,000 people working on security and content review. Do you know the political orientation of those 15 to 20,000 people engaged in content review?
No, Senator. We do not generally ask people about their political orientation when they're joining the company.
So as CEO, have you ever made hiring or firing decisions based on political positions or what candidates they supported?
No.
Why was Palmer Luckey fired?
That is a specific personnel matter that seems like it would be inappropriate to
You just
speak
made
to
a
here.
specific representation that you didn't make decisions based on political views.
Well,
Is that
I
accurate?
can commit that it was not because of a political view.
Do you know of those 15 to 20,000 people engaged in content review, how many, if any, have ever supported financially a Republican candidate for office?
Senator, I do not know that.
Your testimony says it is not enough that we just connect people. We have to make sure those connections are positive. It says we have to make sure people aren't using their voice to hurt people or spread misinformation. We have a responsibility not just to build tools, to make sure those tools are used for good. Mr. Zuckerberg, do you feel it's your responsibility to assess users, whether they are good and positive connections or ones that those 15 to 20,000 people deem unacceptable or deplorable?
Senator, you're asking about me personally?
Facebook.
Senator, I think that there are a number of things that we would all agree are clearly bad. Foreign interference in our elections, terrorism, self-harm.
I'm
Those
talking
are
about
things.
censorship.
Well, I think that you would probably agree that we should remove terrorist propaganda from the service.
So that sounds pretty good, right? He's just going to protect people from terrorists until you realize that the very same cabal that he belongs to during the Obama administration, remember Janet Napolitano released, the head of DHS, Department of Homeland Security, released that memo to all of the police stations telling them who the terrorist threats were. And Christians who believe in Bible prophecy were on the list, but guess who wasn't on the list? Islamic terrorists weren't even on the list. So during the Obama administration, when they released the threats of homegrown terrorism, and Department of Homeland Security for the United States of America released their list of terrorists, they put Christians on it.
Outrage tonight over an intelligence report. Critics say the Department of Homeland Security document unfairly paints military vets as right-wing extremists. And Maria Antonia is live now in the newsroom with some reaction. Maria?
Kelly, this is the 9-page report we're talking about. It is the topic that has prompted all kinds of reports, comments, and criticism online. And here in our area, this is the reason why upset veterans are calling the VFW. It's a report that went out to law enforcement warning about the potential of right-wing extremists using the country's bad economy and the election of the first black president among the reasons to recruit members. The report mentions Timothy McVeigh in a section that refers to some returning military veterans after Operation Desert Shield/Storm in 1990 and 91 who joined or associated with right-wing extremist groups. Now, this report is also a hot topic of those Tea Party protests we've been showing you today. I want to take a look at one more thing here. This is a badge one demonstrator in Johnson County was wearing. It reads, "I am the freedom-loving, pro-life, Constitution-supporting patriot Homeland Security warned you about." Now, some Republicans in Congress are also critical of this report. One even wants Homeland Security to apologize to veterans.
Now, make no mistake, they aren't just targeting veterans and patriots and saying that they're domestic terrorists and put them on the list. I mean, this is serious. When Mark Zuckerberg is testifying right now, oh, it's okay, we only discriminate against terrorists. You need to understand that our own government has listed us by name as terrorists. I'm going to show you the document right now. Okay, now as I go through and read these sections of this intelligence document, just listen to these things and ask yourself, do any of these descriptions apply to me? Meaning you. Ask yourself, because you need to understand that you're on the list. You're on the list because people need to wake up. It's exactly like Nazi Germany when they started rounding up professors and judges and teachers and business owners and anybody who wouldn't do what Hitler said. And this is precisely what is going on. This is a government document right in front of your face. This says, historically, domestic right-wing extremists have feared, predicted, and anticipated a cataclysmic economic collapse in the United States. So they're saying all of these economists online who are just click on the United States national debt when you're talking $20 trillion and we're not allowed to say there is no way that America can ever pay back $20 trillion. that we don't produce enough gross domestic product. We can't pay that debt back. But we're not allowed to speak of the facts because that what might make you a right-wing extremist. You can't even talk economics anymore. The thought and speech police have become so intrusive. But here's where we come in. You know how they're really pushing that narrative, like QAnon said, they're pushing that conspiracy theorist narrative. They're putting that label on us. Why are they doing that? They're doing that because there are already documents in place that say if we have that label, we are the terrorists. Prominent anti-government conspiracy theorists have incorporated aspects of an impending economic collapse to intensify fear and paranoia of like-minded individuals and to attract recruits during times of economic uncertainty. Conspiracy theories involving declarations of martial law, impending civil strife or racial conflict, suspension of the U.S. Constitution, and the creation of citizen detention camps often incorporate aspects of a failed economy. Anti-government conspiracy theories and end-time prophecies, in quote, could motivate extremist individuals and groups to stockpile food, ammunition, weapons, such as violent Christian identity organizations. So if you're a prepper at all, or you're a gun owner, or a Christian, it's just unbelievable. It's beyond my comprehension that they can say, oh, this is cyberbullying if we just, say anything or ask a question or anything. Oh, it's cyberbullying. You can't say anything. You can't ask anything. It's all going to offend somebody. But they can list us by name. They can just absolutely put us in a government document and say, this isn't bullying. No, to say, if we believe in end time prophecies, so if you believe in the Bible, or you're a Christian, or you're a prepper, or you think the economy's in terrible condition, or you think tens of trillions of dollars of national debt might be a problem, well, you're on the list. Section U, all right? If you're right wing, if you're a conservative, you're on the list. And it mentions historical examples from the 1990s and stuff, which are the very false flags that I mentioned before, the Oklahoma City bombing and stuff, how the Patsy, I put the whistleblower testimony up from Cody Snodgrass, that he was recruited and then, that they set this up. This was Clinton administration that this happened during. And so they set this up and they use an ex-military guy. So now all veterans can be demonized. And also all, gun control efforts. So it says, reflecting back on the 1990s, prominent among these themes were the malicious movement's opposition to gun control efforts. So what do we see with all of this after Florida and stuff? They exploit these children and parade them around, and because they're children, we can't possibly have a discussion about the Second Amendment of the Constitution or anything mature. No, because, you might be offending a child, because they are, it's disgusting, exploiting these children and parading them around. It also goes along and basically says that you're a white supremacist if you don't agree with baby killing and homosexuality and sexual perversion and all this. As they're externalizing this hierarchy, they want all of that. You people who follow the QAnon movement, and highlighting perceived government infringement on civil liberties as well as white supremacists' long-standing exploitation of social issues such as abortion, interracial crimes, and same-sex marriage. So, they're listing. So I basically can no longer in the United States of America believe in the Holy Bible. It is Bible prophecy, which is, see this circular thinking, how they say that if I believe in Bible prophecy, I'm a terrorist. And then they fulfill Bible prophecy right in front of my face by saying, you must renounce your belief in the Holy Bible to be a part of this society, which is the whole Antichrist book of Revelation story. That is the Bible prophecy, that a totalitarian government would come into place that would demand people renounce their belief in the Holy Bible. So the Holy Bible says homosexuality is wrong. The Holy Bible says baby killing is wrong. But the cabal, or should I say, this is a United States government document from Department of Homeland Security released by Janet Napolitano under Barack Obama's directive. and he directs us to renounce our belief in the Holy Bible. And if we do not, we will be considered part of this extremist terrorist threat of people who will not conform. Okay, so here we go. This includes the entire QAnon movement. According to Barack Obama's administration, the entire QAnon movement should be rounded up as domestic terrorists and I guess thrown in Gitmo or something. Because here we go, under Section U, perceived threat from rise of other countries. And this is the exact document. Right-wing extremist paranoia of foreign regimes could escalate or be magnified in the event of an economic crisis or military confrontation, hearkening back to the New World Order conspiracy theories of the 1990s. The dissolution of the communist countries in Eastern Europe and the end of the Soviet Union in the 1990s led some right-wing extremists to believe that a new world order would bring about a world government that would usurp the sovereignty of the United States and its Constitution, thus infringing upon their liberty. So think about it. Think about what Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg and these alphabet agencies have compiled on you through social media. Have you ever visited a New World Order site? How many comments have you spoken about it? Have you taken part in this QAnon movement? Have you ever made a video? Have you ever done anything about the New World Order? Well, if you have, you're on the list. Department of Homeland Security says you are a threat. And Mark Zuckerberg just testified before Congress that he not only has a right to censor you, but he has a responsibility to make sure you are a non-person, that you don't get to speak or have a voice in our society. And if you don't believe that this social engineering that Facebook and Google and YouTube and all of these are engaged in to turn people against us is real propaganda that can be used to turn real people against other people, well, look at this clip. Just look at it and see. Talk about hypocrisy, how they preach all of this bullying. Oh, you can't bully us or say anything against our views. And then they say, oh, well, it's intolerance. We're so tolerant and we embrace diversity and all this on their side. Hypocrites. They're hypocrites. They don't want any diversity. The left are the most intolerant of all humans on this earth. And this is evidence. This is seen all across America, not just at this university. They are utterly intolerant. They go up and they bully this other person just for what he's wearing. They tell him he has no civil rights to even wear a cap. It's just a cap. It says nothing vulgar. It says nothing. It's just a cap. They go to the point that she says she's going to report him to the authorities. And then there's an actual assault. Another boy comes over and it literally puts his hands on this kid and tears his clothes off. I mean, he takes his hat off, so I'm being a little sensationalist there. But to actually think you have the right, not only to, I'm going to report you to the authorities for wearing something I don't like, but then another person gets so infuriated he starts screaming and literally takes an item of clothing off of someone else's body. And these are the people who say that this poor guy who you see never really hardly even says a word. He's just standing there being just bullied and yelled at and interrogated and have his clothes ripped off by these people, and they think they're in the right. They are completely convinced. It's just exactly like Nazi Germany. Those people, when they pulled those people, the Jews, out of their stores and beat them in the streets and did all of this, they thought they had a right. The propaganda had convinced people. So when you see these cabal sitting on the hot seat in front of Congress, this is not just, oh, we're going to laugh at Mark Zuckerberg, haha, it's so funny. No, they have effectively created, through social engineering, this army of just citizens who absolutely are so brainwashed. You can see these are clean-cut kids, but yet she and the other boy are so brainwashed, they absolutely believe that they have a right to bully this kid, to exercise utter prejudice and intolerance, to rip items of clothing off of his body, and they walk away thinking that they were in the right. He never bullied them. He was never intolerant of their ideas. He never did anything. It was all an attack on this poor innocent guy just because he was wearing a hat. And yet they walked away believing they were in the right after all they did
It's a public place.
It's a public place.
Make America Great Again hat, and she's completely freaking out. We're allowed to film whatever. Support a political candidate.
You're not allowed to share hate language in
This,
university.
I'm saying make America great. What is hate language about? You're on, I want to hear.
Make America great again means make America all for white people, no immigrants, no people of different sexual orientations.
His wife is an immigrant. His wife is an immigrant.
That doesn't mean anything.
How is it not? You
mean
just said no
anything.
immigrants.
It doesn't mean anything. I could have a brother who's gay and I could not be supportive gay people. It doesn't mean anything. Your values.
So why is he? You just said he doesn't like immigrants. His wife's an immigrant. It's illegal immigrants that he doesn't like.
You're not even
illegal.
connecting.
You're saying he? I asked you, does he not like immigrants? You're like, he doesn't like immigrants.
Just because he's married to an immigrant doesn't mean that his policies and what he stands for is promoting people of different colors being in our university.
It's illegal immigrants. Illegal immigrants.
Listen, dude, like, we're friends and I level with you, but like, you gotta take the hat off, or I'm gonna write the president of the university and he's gonna come and talk to you because I already talked to him about this. It's not allowed. It's hate language on campus. You can do it with me or you can do it with David Doherty. I waited to talk to you in person and I've already talked to him about this. You can laugh because it's so gonna happen, and I can't wait for him to come.
He's wearing a hat that he wants to wear. What is wrong with the hat?
I'm not allowed to wear a shirt. I'm not allowed to wear a shirt.
Yeah, no. Yo, let's go. This is ridiculous.
Okay,
You're
you
all.
can
This
come
is
with me
just.
now, and you can
Make America great again. It's a hat. He's wearing a hat.
It's
Trump
not
doesn't
a hat.
hate
It's
immigrants.
So much more. It's so
How
much
is it
more.
so much more? You don't know anything about Trump. You don't know anything. You don't know one little thing. Okay.
Please.
Keep wearing the hat, man. Keep wearing the hat. Is that what you want? That is insane. This is all on camera. Yo, keep wearing that hat. If I had my Trump stuff, this girl is just fucking
You're not supporting the hat. Dude,
So
you
if
gotta
you want
take
me
it
to
off.
come
You
talk
gotta
to
take
David,
it
I
off. You gotta take
Make
it off.
America. Why does he have to take it off?
Do me a
Because of
favor,
what it
please.
stands for. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Just leave. Stop.
Yo, give him the hat back.
And you're a private company, so you can make policies that may be less than First Amendment full spirit embracing, in my view. But I worry about that. I worry about a world where when you go from violent groups to hate speech in a hurry, in one of your responses to one of the opening questions, you may decide, or Facebook may decide, it needs to police a whole bunch of speech that I think America might be better off not having policed by one company that has a really big and powerful platform. Can you define hate speech?
Senator, I think that this is a really hard question, and I think it's one of the reasons why we struggle with it. There are certain definitions that we have around, calling for violence or.
Let's just agree on that. If somebody's calling for violence, that shouldn't be there. I'm worried about the psychological categories around speech. You used language of safety and protection earlier. We see this happening on college campuses all across the country. It's dangerous. 40% of Americans under age 35 tell pollsters they think the First Amendment is dangerous because you might use your freedom to say something that hurts somebody else's feelings.